Hey guys, welcome to a new review. This time I'm reviewing the newest episode of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 7, Heads Up. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this little thing right here. Glenn's not dead. Now, if you are one of those people who actually thought he would be dead, then you probably feel like an idiot at this point. I mean, everyone's had their theories, and I think a lot of people came almost exactly close or dead on with speculating how he would escape the horde. And I think I got it pretty close. I had a few variations where I thought maybe something else would happen, but I have said that he crawled under the dumpster, which a lot of people have said, so I'm not taking credit saying like, against a wave of other people's opinions, I stood out of the crowd. No, I mean, a lot of people thought he would live, but there were some people, like if you go on a Facebook site of The Walking Dead, everyone's like, oh, Glenn was dead, Glenn's dead, Glenn's dead. He died there. No, that wouldn't make any sense, and it turned out he's not dead. So those people are probably now just hiding in their little, I don't know, hoodie, pretending that they don't exist in their computer room, afraid to say anything on these sites. And that's pretty much accurate, I think. Okay, now let's start off with a quick rating of the episode. I think this was a good episode. I think it's not the best of the season, but that's just because we've gotten some really good episodes. And in my predictions video, I said that this might be a slower episode. I think I was close there, but it has elements in it that make it a really good episode, and I would say it's on par with the best episode of this season, just because it sets up a lot of stuff that I'm going to be stoked for. And I'm going to do a bunch of videos where I say like, go deeply into investigating different scenes from this episode and giving my predictions for the future. There's a lot that I gotta do here, so stick around for those. But right now I would say this is on par with the episode JSS. That's episode 2 of this season, and I think this was so good that it's just as good as that one. Even though it didn't have much action in it, what it does is sets up enough so that I couldn't help but feel excited for everything. Now, let's start off with the synopsis of the episode. We see Glenn survive. He had the guy on top of him, which really Glenn should have gotten bitten. I mean, I didn't want him to get bitten, but it would make sense if he did, just because he was surrounded by walkers, and the guy's body was just like this on him, which if you go back to one of my in-depth looks at that scene, I actually explained that the guy's body is like this or this, and that's pretty accurate to what happened, so I nailed that one on the head. But he does escape. He climbs under the dumpster and then kills all the walkers that are reaching in to try and get him, which creates sort of a force around him, like a bit of a wall cover, so that the other walkers couldn't reach in. And then eventually the walkers, I guess, forgot he was there and left. He spent a while down there and he got real thirsty. He drank all of his water from his water bottle, so when he gets out, he gets Nicholas's water bottle, and also we see Nicholas's old dead face. I don't think he got turned into a zombie, but you do see his rotted looking face there. I don't know, I'm gonna have to go back and take a look there. Did Nicholas turn into a zombie? It seemed like he would, but I guess maybe they tore into his brain? No, I don't know, I'm gonna have to check that. And if he was turned into a zombie, wouldn't it have been nice if Glenn put him out of his misery? Nah, he wouldn't have been turned into a zombie. He shot himself in the head. Forget it. Okay. Anyway. So Glenn walks out from under the thing, and then he hears someone yell, "Heads up." He looks up, and right there, that's the title of the episode, Heads Up. And a lot of people were speculating that maybe it's Negan, because, you know, spoiler for the comics, I guess, Negan kills people with his bat by smashing them on the head. So that's what made people think that it would be Negan that is the problem in this. But that was just a misleading thing. Like, The Walking Dead does a lot of little misleading title type stuff. like in the episode Thank You, it's because he said thank you. So they just take like little lines from the episode and make it the title for the episode. JSS, that's just something that Enid writes on everything. So yeah, just little things like that. And she tosses a water bottle down, smashes, and water, I guess, sprays out. She's kind of a jerk. Now, Enid, from the beginning, I kind of had a lot of troubles with her, but now she's gotten really annoying. But some people speculate that she will take the place of Sophia from the comics, and I could kind of see that, but I think she's a little old. So if they do that, I guess it's okay, but I would expect that they'd want someone younger to do that. And plus, it kind of fits in oddly with the way the comics were going. It's like you got this puzzle shape and something that's similar but won't go in right. You can't just do that. Okay, enough rambling on about Enid. This episode, she goes up the, he goes to see where she is, tries to track her down, and loses her, but later catches up to her. But then, once he loses her, we see a different part. I believe, let's see. It went from there to Rick walking around the wall, and he sees Morgan practicing with his staff. And then Rick stops to have a conversation with Morgan, and he says that they need to talk, which was in the trailer, and I did a predictions video sort of based off of that trailer, and I got pretty accurate, saying that Rick found out from Carol what happened, and now he's going to have a talk with Morgan. But other than that, I didn't get many things on the, I didn't pin many things on the nose with this episode. Mainly something like, I didn't think Glenn would be in this episode at all. I thought he was going to be in the mid-season finale, but instead, one episode before. In the previews, they didn't show any hint that he would, or that there would be any alternate thing, which of course is intended. They wouldn't want you to know, but I don't know. Okay, so Rick sees a bullet hole in the wall and blood dripping down. Now, I thought that was a crack previously. That is blood, so I don't know what that's all about. Probably going to find out what that means eventually. But as for now, I don't think we do know. Or I missed something and everyone else knows and they're like, you idiot, it's this. But before that happens, I'm going to say, right now, I don't know what it is. Now, that goes from there to, I guess, well, at some point, Eugene and Rosita were practicing machetes. Now, she was teaching every little 2-bit character from Alexandria how to use a machete. And she has a discussion with Eugene because he's acting like a real brat. He's uses his big way of speaking to say he's a novice at using knives, and she should not be so close in his proximity or something like that. And she's like, what are you afraid of? He says, dying. She says, dying is easy. Once you're dead, it's over. What you should be afraid of is someone you know dying, and then you have to live with that forever. And then I mentioned this just because that's a little scene that kind of left an impact. And we see another scene, let's see. There was a lot in this episode, so I had to write down some stuff I've got on the floor here. If you notice me looking down a lot, that's because I'm like, what came next? Help me. Alright, Morgan's talk with Rick. Morgan and Rick, Michonne, and Carol are in a room and they're talking about how Morgan keeps letting these people go. Rick found out from Carol that Morgan let the guys go who nearly killed Rick. And so they have a discussion and Morgan just acts self-righteous and he's like, well, if you killed me, then I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have been able to save Daryl and this and that. Oh yeah, but if you killed those guys, then they wouldn't have shot the RV, and the RV would have started, and Rick could have gotten out of there, and yeah, so Morgan, you're a scumbag. And then Morgan pushes the limit in this episode. It's just, he does worse and worse up till the point where you just want to kill him. You just want to kill him. And I'm not a normal fan of Morgan anyway, just because of his stupid ideas, but the way he acts makes it so that even if he was a great character, other than his personality, I wouldn't like him, just because his personality, the way he acts, it ruins him. I don't think it's the actor's fault necessarily, but the writers definitely want you to hate this character, I think. Maybe some people like him, I don't know. I'm not speaking for everyone. Okay, we go from Morgan to talking to Rick to... Rick talked to a lot of people in this episode. Rick also had to talk with Maggie. He sees her on the wall. She's looking in the direction that Glenn would be if he shot off a flare. She could see that. But we saw earlier that Glenn's flare broke. And also I'd like to point out, Glenn was not the person on that radio. We found that out in this episode. And I told you guys previously, I didn't think that was him. So we still don't know who was on the radio in episode 6. So yeah. I did a review of that episode, check it out. Yeah. Sorry for differing. Moving on, let's try and get back on track here. Yeah, he talks with Maggie and she says that she's staying up there to see if Glenn will shoot off some sort of warning or something so she can know that he's alive. And then she mentions that Judith looks more and more like Lori every day. Right then, everyone in the house was just saying, and Shane! Just because we don't know if it's Shane or Rick's baby, and it was just so funny. Everyone on Facebook is posting that stuff. It's just, I'm starting to think it was an obvious joke. Yeah. But from there we see Ron's gun training. So Rick and Carl are teaching Ron how to use a gun without using live ammo or really target practicing. So my guess is in the episode where you see Rick unload his gun and then hand it to Ron, that was just so that Ron could get a feel of the gun and it was actually empty. Yeah. But anyway, Rick has him showing him how to use a Glock, how to cock it, how to pull out the clip, and then just how to hold it and don't keep your finger on the trigger unless you plan to shoot, stuff like that, the basics. But the whole time Carl's there, and it's like every time Carl interjects to tell his little 2 bits, it's awkward and it feels like he should not have been there to talk with him. It should have just been Rick teaching him how to shoot, because this little scene made it seem like Ron got angrier towards Carl, and then that accelerates to something way, way far at the end. I will get to that in a second. Now, Spencer tries to climb over the wall to a different area. So he throws a grappling hook, and it's like from the wall to a building over here, and then he's crawling across hoping that he can climb up here, get down, and get a car, apparently. But it breaks down, and because he's a Barney Fife, of course, it does start breaking down, and he's hanging there, and Rick and this other guy, the construction guy, have to come and save him. Now, Rick and the construction guy had some discussions. It just seems like they're building up that guy's character so that we'll care a little when they kill him off. That always happens with Alexandrians, so yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Next episode, maybe the episode after that, I don't know. But we've only got one more episode until we have to wait, 3 months or something? Yeah, so that's gonna suck. Ugh. And then what am I gonna do for all that time? Anyway, Spencer, the rope falls and Spencer's hanging there. So Tara is shooting the zombies away from him while Rick is pulling up the rope that he's holding on to, and eventually they get him up. But then Rick yells at Tara because she was hanging off of the wall shooting the walkers. She was being really dangerous with the way she was helping. But then she gives him the flip-off finger to, I covered it, don't worry. You don't have to make your kids look away. Okay. She flips him off because he's like telling her that she shouldn't have done that. So she comes across as like a rebellious kid, even though she's a full-grown adult who's actually pregnant in real life there. And you can kind of tell in this episode they don't do quite as good a job at covering up her baby bump, but you can tell. Yeah. In the previous episode, you couldn't quite tell that she was baby pregnant type thickness, but now you can tell. And then Rick, after they save him, Spencer's really an idiot. He's such a screw up. Throughout all these episodes, we just see him screw up more and more. I'm wondering if they're going to keep him around for a while and just have him as that screw up guy, or if they're going to make him better like they did with Carol, or if they're just going to kill him off anyway. I don't know, we'll see. Lots of things happen in this episode, so let me skip forward so that I don't end up doing a 40-minute review of this, and my camera doesn't run out of battery again. This is like the third time me doing this, hoping that the battery doesn't run out. Okay. Now, Deanna talks to Rick, and they have a little back and forth. She's like thanking him for saving Spencer, and he says he shouldn't have. He's like saying he shouldn't have done it or something like that. He said that there was an opening there where Rick could have gotten down and ran right through because all the walkers were attracted to Spencer, but then Spencer would have been eaten. And she asked him why he saved Spencer. And he said, because he's your son. And she says, wrong answer. So I suppose what she means is like, it's because you're a good man, not because you're doing it as a favor. Not because you're doing it just because of this. So, yeah, that's a little back and forth there. Deanna seems to be becoming nice so that when she does die in probably next episode-ish, it will be a big thing. I think I'm going to do a death predictions video too. That'll be cool. Stick around for that one. And mine will be more accurate than anyone else's, so you have to see mine. I mean it. Okay. Morgan's pet, or the wolf, as I say, we know that he was infected, but previously I thought that he was bitten, but it's just an infection where like you were stabbed or shot or something and it's starting to get infected. So Morgan was trying to get Denise to give him some like tips on what to do to it, and eventually she says she thought it was for like Morgan's arm, which apparently got hurt somehow. I don't remember, but he says it's not for me, and then he was saying he was asking these questions so that he wouldn't have to get her involved, but then she is involved now, so she goes out to help him with the wolf because she now knows, I guess, he told her. And as soon as they head out to go check on the wolf, Carol sees it. And this part here just made me so happy. Carol's totally gonna kick Morgan's butt. I hope. I certainly hope she should do something. Even if it's just telling Rick, that's something. And then Rick might kick his butt. I just gotta see Morgan getting the crap smacked out of him. What's wrong with you, man? Psh! Yeah, it's what he needs. He needs one of those cracks across the face. I certainly hope he dies this season or next, because Morgan's not a good character. He's just a failure. Maybe they'll make him better, and maybe I'll change my mind at some point. They've done that with other characters. There was a point where I was like, Carol should die. She's a worthless character. But for now, he's really a screw-up. He's Father Gabriel incarnate. He's worse than Father Gabriel. Back on track. Carl is walking in Alexandria. Oh wait, first, Ron is carrying the Glock, right? And then he sneaks into the weapons holder, the armory, and gets some ammo. Then we see him walking up behind Carl, and he takes out the Glock and starts lifting it. But that's when all of a sudden something happens, which I'll get to. That'll be the last thing that I mention here. And what we figure is he's going to either try to kill Carl, successfully kill Carl, or wound Carl. what I think is more likely is he's going to wound Carl. Maybe not like immediately, but eventually. And that'll be messed up. Especially since Rick and Carl were teaching him how to shoot. But Ron is such a crap character. Oh, I hope he dies. Anyway, after Carol sees what they were doing, she's taking care of Judith, so she takes Judith over to Jesse's place where she is going to leave Judith, and then she has a talk with Sam, which is kind of awkward. He's like saying, were those bad people that we killed? And then they have a discussion about bad people and what you're supposed to kill and stuff. It's just, I hate Sam. He's an annoying kid. If he dies in the next episode, it won't really be bad. But then Carol follows to see what they were doing, and then right at the end, we see her go to Morgan's door, and she's unlocking the door, and then he opens it, and she says, "Who are you keeping in there?" And that's all we see of that scene. So we don't know what's going to happen there, and I really, really wanted to see that. So that's why I like this episode so much. It sets up so much where you're just like, gotta see the next, gotta see the next. And if the next is not continuing this story, that'll be so disappointing. Could you imagine? That would be like Glenn's situation all over again. Like, we finally got to see Glenn better, but then this happens. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to Glenn's story. He catches up to Enid, and then she was at like a cake place or something. I don't think that much. And they have some rat-tat-tat discussions. Nothing important, really, just back and forth, where he's like, you have to come back with me, and I couldn't let you stay here because of Maggie. Maggie wouldn't want that, and blah, blah, blah. And so they go walking out together. But she pulls a gun on him at one point. She doesn't use it, of course, and he takes it away from her, but that's just to show you that she's messed up. And that this whole exchange sort of makes me believe the whole Sophia type thing that people have been discussing. And anyway, they go walking through the forest, they talk some more. There's a lot of talk throughout the episode, but some of it's really interesting. This part, not so much. Until they see these balloons. And they collect the balloons, and for some reason there's helium and balloons out in the forest. I'm not sure why. Maybe there was something there that I didn't catch with my eyes, but it seemed like there were just balloons and aplenty out there for them. So they collect like 8 balloons or so, and they have it on her backpack, and she says it's for like distracting walkers. But what I was thinking right then is, it's going to be like in place of the flares, right? And yeah, that's what it is. And they get to the wall of Alexandria, and they see it's covered with walkers. And so she's like, it's all pointless, they're screwed there and whatever. And he's like, no, it's not, blah, blah, blah. And then we see Maggie and Rick over at the Alexandria. And did I mention already, there's a scene where Father Gabriel is hanging up these papers. It says like he's having a prayer session at some point, and he's just like putting them up on little posts here and there. But then Rick comes up and sees it right as Father Gabriel's walking away from putting it up, and he tears it down and goes walking forward. I love that. And Father Gabriel looks like a whipped puppy when he goes back and puts up another. You can really tell they hate each other now. I think Father Gabriel both feels like he's wrong, but also feels like Rick's wrong. Whereas Rick just hates the crap out of that guy. He's such a wuss, and he has to keep helping Father Gabriel. It's ridiculous. If I was Rick, I would probably be acting exactly the same as he is towards Father Gabriel. So if you think that he's too mean to Father Gabriel, what's wrong with you, man? Father Gabriel has been a jerk the whole time. He wanted to get them kicked out, remember? He's not a good person. By no means is he. And from that point on, yes, we see inside there, like, all the Alexandrians are gathered around doing different stuff, and then they see the balloons go up. And that tells them that Glenn is still alive, and Maggie's like rejoicing, is happy, and then all of a sudden, the building that's next to the wall of Alexandria just starts collapsing and it crashes down and takes down the wall with it. So, wanna know what that tells us the next episode's gonna be? We don't know. It depends. If this next episode is taking place in Alexandria, then it's following the comic lines, and we will see a lot of crap go down, and there will be a lot of deaths. This will be magnificent, and it will be one of the biggest episodes of all time. So, it could be the most epic, but if they're following like what Daryl's doing right now, then it will be meh at best. Hopefully, it's going to be the Alexandria. That's the only thing that I could think of. Because it would not be an epic mid-season finale if it was just about Daryl. It's got to be about Alexandria, right? They wouldn't do that to us, right? I hope. Anyway. I think I've gone over everything. Let me see. Yeah. Yes, I believe that is all. If I missed something, why don't you tell me, and then I might do a video where I say I'm wrong. Might be a few seconds long, but I'll say I'm wrong, and I'll grant you for telling me how stupid I was. Anyway, make sure to leave a comment that's a question, and I will, perhaps, pertaining to the series of The Walking Dead, either future or past episodes, hopefully future, because that might be interesting, and I will answer it in a video on Saturday. Now, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure to check out my other videos, and the reason why I'm not uploading these videos very fast is I've been working on a lot of things. Like right now I've got to review Eugene here, which I just got. I've got a bunch of new stop motions and stuff getting ready to do. I've got a custom in the works, so make sure to check out my other videos and stick around for those. I'll see you guys in the next video. If I missed anything, make sure to remind me. Like, comment, share, subscribe again.